few dear friends to cancer, and we won a few and saw some babies that had to die medically and didn't die, and yet we lost a couple along the way. You just sort through all that and you say, you know what? I'm on to something. I ain't backing down. If it ain't producing life, I'm not in line with truth. I'm going after God. Why? I'm on this little journey. I got this one little window called life. The gospel did not come to get me through this little window. The gospel came so I could leave a mark and write a legacy and impact people and shine. The gospel came so I could shine, not survive. Yeah? Yes. Well, I'm going to shine. And faith says what you're going to do. And you'll know what a man believes by how he lives his life. Yeah? You say, well, that's not fair. He might not understand. Still, you know what he believes by how he lives his life. And some people will hear the truth like I'm crying out, and they'll just, oh, yeah, whatever. But he don't know what I'm going through. It works for him. And they'll talk, that's analytical. They'll talk themselves out of the conviction the Lord wants to put in every man's heart. And they'll work in a mindset that diffuses the intensity and the power and the glory of what I'm saying. And just kind of, oh, whatever. And just go back to living whatever. My hope is that these words keep coming to you and coming to you and coming to you. Even if you see my face in the middle of the night. Unshaven. I'll follow you, Lord! Whatever it takes. Do it, Jesus. I'm having fun with you. We're being lighthearted because it's so intense this morning, so we got to laugh down there and take a little anesthesia. Don't feel the pain. It's Holy Ghost anesthesia when you laugh in the middle of something so serious. Because God doesn't want you leaving here heavy. He wants you leaving here free. Isn't it amazing? 30 years is real. One night last night, didn't even ask for that, laughed, and God said, boom. You say, well, why didn't God just do that? We're not robots, and He doesn't have your name with a remote on it. He does things with purpose and power and intention, and He wants to give you the greatest revelation of your life. And as you keep your heart in a certain place, as you show places of repentance and humility, grace can work with that and team up with that, and all of a sudden, wow, we're on a roll. Amen. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're waiting for this mystery click and connection with God and one day this might happen. That's living so impersonal. Look, you can have sickness in your body and be in complete, intimate fellowship and relationship with God every day. With sickness in your body. Not letting the sickness dictate who you are and how you're doing and not identify through the sickness. I'm not talking about denial. I'm talking about relationship. I'm talking about you really feel the pain in your body, and you wake up in the morning and you find grace in that place, and you say, wow, Father, I thank you for another day, instead of, oh no, here we go again. There's a big difference between thank you, Father, for today and here we go again. And where have you been, God, and how many more days, and what did I ever do to deserve this? And God, I thought, I'm just being relatable. I'm not being mean. I'm being real. This is what happens. Versus, God, I so appreciate your love for me. This thing is so clear. Man, you're for me and not against me. This thing that I've been feeling in my body is no reflection on the love or the lack of love you have for me. The cross has settled that. Your love is proven. You don't have to prove a thing. You have proved to my heart you're for me and not against me. And I thank you. There's grace sufficient for this day. Pain, you will get out of my body. Body, you will function today. Father, I just thank you for your grace in my life. Holy Spirit, I welcome you. Yes. That would be amazing. To have that perspective and not know that there's any other perspective to have. Wouldn't that be amazing? There'd be a total expression of humility, and it would be called loving not your own life unto death. Ain't that something? Be honest. How many of us have been tricked into being scared to death and we're Christians because of fear? We pray because of fear. We hear, you have this and you're going to die, and we become a dying man and cry out to God. And our whole family's praying from the basis of sentiment because they don't want us to die because they love us. And it sounds like a normal story, but it's tragic, and then they die, and now we can't even rebound spiritually, and why did God let this happen, and I guess He took them, and I guess He wanted an angel in heaven, and we come up with all this stuff to try to comfort our troubled hearts. And none of it's helping because it takes us farther from truth. And truth is what makes us free. So we stay reduced to survival mode. That's what we get reduced to. All of a sudden, we're Christians to make it. You already won.
Yes.
He'll never judge me for my sin. He threw it in the sea of forgetfulness, so see me through righteousness.
Yes.
I will never answer for where I've been, I'll answer for where He's been.
Amen.
He has captured my heart. I have victory through the Christ. Yeah? He has caused me to triumph. You could do me wrong. You could take me. Somebody could disapprove of what I'm saying. Just stand up and get radical and just right now. And I have won. But never going to die. Yay! Never going to die. See, I preach that. I say that when I'm driving sometimes. I'm never going to die. And I get myself crazy with it because the fear of death rules people. And the sign of a Christian is no fear of the bondage of death because we're delivered through Jesus, Hebrews 2. And set free from that fear of bondage we've been captivated by our whole life. I tell a story. I was down south, some policemen undercover. I did a pastor's conference preaching with all my heart. Prayed for all these pastors. They lined them up. We were just having fun, encouraging leaders. I sit down and these men surround me. They're in plain clothes. I thought, this looks strange. They were policemen. The guy leans over, I'm Officer so-and-so. I said, yeah. I said, I was just thinking, you guys, it looks like you're some kind of agent, guys. Yeah, bodyguards. He said, no, we're all officers. I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, we have concerns for your well-being. There's obviously somebody that disapproves with what you're saying and you're being here, and we have concerns even for your life tonight. I said, are you serious? Like a death threat? That's our concern. And we're here to make sure you're safe and get you out here safely. See, when you talk about you're not afraid of death, and you don't know till you're in that position. Peter said, I'll die for you until he had a chance. But in that season, all credit to Peter, he didn't have Holy Spirit living inside of him. Because when he had Holy Spirit living inside of him, he said, right to the same people that judged Jesus and rolled the ball on his crucifixion. He said to the same Sanhedrin, he said, whether it's right in the sight of God to believe you or to believe God, you need to decide. But I can't help but to talk about what I've seen and I've heard. He had no fear for his life and Holy Spirit. Yeah? So this police officer's doing his job. I said, brother, I appreciate you, man. I can find you in the book of Romans, what you do and your place on the earth and it's God. But I said, this is the wrong time. This is the wrong place. I said, we're not doing this. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't want you to shadow me and escort me and watch out for my well-being. I said, this is intimidation. It's threats. It's intimidation. If you don't face it, you'll have to run from it your whole life. I said, we just need to let it unfold. He said, well, I strongly disagree. I said, sir, in all due respect, I'm not asking for your agreement. If I'm going 85 and a 65, I need you, right? On this one, it's spiritual. I need you to diffuse it. I'm not asking for your agreement. I'm asking you to honor what I'm asking. I said, look, if they're saying, this is what I told you, if they're saying they're going to kill me, let's let it unfold. Let's see if they can. I'm never going to die. And then some people that fear, they say, well, brother, you got to use wisdom. And I'm saying, whose? Who? It's the age-old debate. Well, you got to use wisdom, brother. Whose wisdom?
Yeah. Come on.
Well, now, brother, you got to use wisdom. And that's not statements being motivated by fear.
Yeah.
Listen, I died 22 years ago. You're not going to kill me now. I am not. Is there a camera running? I am not a Christian to survive.
Amen.
I've already won.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I live my life without fear. And that sounds like the gospel. Because perfect love casts out
Yes.
all
Yes.
fear.
Yes.
So I looked at the officer, because now I have a chance to love my life, don't I? They said, what? Well, what are they going to do to me? What did they say? Well, how come? I wonder why. Oh, my goodness. Well, you get me to my room. Diffuse it. I said, let's see if they can. Honestly, I said, I don't believe they can. I said, God has way too much for me to do, but even if they pull it off, I've already won, dude. The worst that can happen is my family would have to deal with either missing me or the lies wrapped around me.
Yes. Yes.
But we all have to walk out and work out our own salvation and live by faith, don't we? So you got to study and show yourself approved and keep your heart in a healthy, good place. But I promise you people, I say it with all my heart, I've said it over and over, if you're a Christian to make it, to survive, if you're a Christian for your sake, you're already in more trouble than you realize. It's going to keep self-centeredness alive. It's going to keep feeling sorry for yourself alive. It's going to keep frustration and anger alive. You're actually going to get in a place where you actually think you have a right to be mad at God. See, when the clay imposes on the potter and thinks he found fault with the potter, that's a sure sign of the fall. That's human wisdom at its finest and its tragedy. You've got your analogy so laid out that you think you found fault with God. That's to raise yourself above him and put yourself in his seat. And that's a sure sign of the pride of man. That we have puffed up in our own wisdom and found ourselves a million miles from truth. Because in that accusation there's no freedom. And truth makes you free. Oh, I'm preaching real good right now. Oh, I can feel it. He's calling us to humility this morning. He loves us. He's fathering us. He's saying, shh, tone down. I know you're going through struggles, trials, things you've prayed and haven't seen. Relax, chill. Let's not pray for this little guy from fear, right? Let's believe God, believe he loves us and understands our affection for him. And who knows that God loved him way before you even knew him. God saw his day before it was seen. There's a time to be born. The little guy was known before he was known. He is not a stranger to the love of God. Yeah. We don't have to be like, remember my boy? He knows him. I don't know why I keep feeling like I have to say this, Jason. I'm not being redundant. I'm saying this over and over. We are not Christians to survive. It just keeps coming. So I'm saying it. I'm sorry. Write him a letter. Don't write me. How many times do you have? You're not a Christian to survive. You're a Christian to shine.
Yes.
Come hell or high water. In the midst of darkness. Look, my two children made terrible mistakes. They ran off and cost themselves about 8 years of their natural life of productivity. My wife at the same time was in deep identity crisis. I'm a full-time pastor. She wouldn't even come to church. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That's a tip of the iceberg. That's just a scratch. See, the reason I'm so passionate, I walked through all of this. And I know it's more than possible. You don't have to wake up and be a broken man. You don't have to wake up and be a failed daddy. You don't have to wake up and wonder what you did wrong as a spouse and why she and how come they, and if I did everything right, they'd be doing more better. And get myself in guilt and condemnation and taking a test every day in my mind and failing by the end of the day. People have wills and people make choices and people get to see. And people know the truth and still live lies. You don't always take full responsibility for that. Come on, God is the greatest Father ever. Would you agree? Yes. How come everybody isn't running to sit on his lap? It's not the issue of the Father. We always say, well, it's the fathers. It all falls on the fathers. If God doesn't move in the fathers, everything, it's all about the fathers. I disagree. It's about individuals being responsible with truth. Yeah. Yes. You can have the greatest daddy on the earth and still go after lies. And in your heart, you seem to honor and respect who your daddy is, but you're not letting that roll over onto you and produce integrity, so you're just following your whims and desires. See, my family has lived with me. They know I'm not a hypocrite. My family wasn't doing this because I'm up in the pulpit preaching and then doing something different at home. It's because they're having to work out their own salvation and deal with their own passions and desires. My son's just getting trapped in one little lie. Wow, he's my dad, now I have to be like him. Wow, he's my dad and everybody's expecting me to follow his footsteps. Wow, I have to do Jesus because I'm in this family. And it was nothing Jesus ever did to hurt him, it was just a lie. It was just a lie that all of a sudden he's constrained, you're being controlled to follow Jesus because you're his son. And I told him 1,000 times over that that's a lie and that's going to try to come to you. And don't you ever believe it. It's a lie. And he still used it as a reason and justification to follow his flesh. So when he does that, you better be sure you know the Lord and you're not identifying your life through your children. You better not make sure you're not a condemned, broken, or hurting parent. You better make sure you can walk in his bedroom and proclaim faith over his life and not just be broken and shattered because you have all these expectations on your children. Sometimes we have children and we want to live their dreams and we want to paint their future, and now we're just set up to be heartbroken by them because we're feeding our identity through them. The reason God said fruitful and they multiply is so that we can multiply His image. So my number one reason for waking up is His image. Yay.
Yes.
So I'm going to stay there. It doesn't matter if 3 out of the 4 in my family are AWOL. You tell me this. How is my wife in that situation and my 2 children running wild? How's that changed truth? How's that changed my right to be in Jesus? How's that changed me being anointed, called, and the ability to shine? Only if I let it.
That's right.
Only if I get deceived and let that matter more than what matters most.
Come on.
I am not a hurting man. I am not another man with a problem. I am not calling brother saying, you got to pray for me. I can barely hang on. And if she don't change soon, how much can a man bear? Pray, brother. I don't even want to be able to think that way. That's not true.
That's right.
Or Jesus would have broke.
Yes. That's right.
Because people did not appreciate Him. And He was right all the time.
Yes, He was. Yes, He was.
Yes. Yes.
And they constantly found what was wrong with Him. They only listened to hear what they didn't agree with. And He kept doing good. And He didn't let where they were decide where He was. And He didn't let what they didn't see decide what He saw. Because He's the light of the world. And He said, you are the lights in the world. Let your light so shine before men. He didn't say, unless of course your kids are going haywire and your wife won't come to church. Let your light shine.
Come on.
Yes.
Light is greater than darkness.
Yeah.
Amen.
You
Amen.
don't repay evil for evil. You overcome evil with good.
Yes.
You don't let sin against you produce sin in you. You live in righteousness, and the power of God is with you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel the gospel. It's so on me right now. See? Because I was in those shoes. I was in those shoes. You say, well, how long did that happen? Well, 8 years. My children, through 8 years of productivity aside, now who knows God's a redeemer, and today everybody's doing great. Today, everybody's doing amazing. Amazing. In the Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
But there was a season that didn't look like that. My wife, deeply deceived in her identity and felt valueless and worthless, and the more time passed, the more she believed she was worth nothing. She'd compare herself to me all the time. She'd look at people and say, well, they only say hi to me because I'm with you. I'm just your wife. And I'm thinking, is that bad? I'm just kidding. But couldn't you take it there? Couldn't you get personal with that? Couldn't you get self-centered? Was that too bad? I mean... They only say hi to me because I'm your wife. They just love you. I'm just tagging along. I'm not gifted. I'm not anointed. People just say hi to me. They're being rhetorical. They'd call her on the phone, try to help her. Hey, Kim, I'm really concerned about you. They'd be leaving their voicemail. You can listen to voicemail. I'm in the kitchen, and she said, they're only calling me because they know I'm messed up. I said, I wonder if they're calling me because they care. No, they just know I'm so messed up. See, I'm just so messed up. And I said, honey, if you believe that, let's work on doing something about that. She'd say, well, I'm just such a burden to you. I say, honey, I don't feel burdened.
Glory.
It was just amazing deception there. That went on for 8 years total. It was an 8-year thing for everybody for some reason, but it was 6 years intense where it built up to a point and then broke. That was a 6-year period of married but single. 6 years, brother. That's a long time. Truth doesn't know time. How 5 years in is truth any less truth than a year in? Some people in 3 weeks are falling apart. Why? Because they're needing one another. They haven't grown in love. And their need isn't working. Nothing's being, because now they have a deficit because so-and-so's not meeting their need anymore and they're falling apart and they can't function. And they blame their whole life on the dysfunction of another. When you've got this solid figure called Christ who wants to live inside of you and shine. So in that whole 6 years, I'm lacking nothing. Look, I didn't even know how to be tired. I didn't even know that I could break. Because I told you yesterday, I don't wake up for me. I don't wake up for my wife to love me. I wake up to be like Him, so there's no disappointment in my day. Because He's here. And He's ready.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get it? Come on. Lies and the fall of man taught us to wake up needy. And put our dependency on everything around us instead of the one in us. And then we get religious and sing all these songs that He's the Lord and let everything else govern and decide our life. Oh, I'm talking straight. I wonder if you wake up every day and you're real about it. You hold your own heart accountable. And you realize nobody owes you a thing, and I didn't wake up for my wife to love me. I woke up to be like Him. That's called how to be a good husband. That's called how to be a good wife. So I go, I don't need my husband to love me today. I'm just going to shine. And I'm going to live lovable. And I don't think I'm going to back up and do that for him. He's going to feel like he's walking all over me. He's going to appreciate me anyway. I don't think I'm going to bend down to his level and get him. See? And Jesus is going, it's the only language he doesn't know. Like he knows every language, he's behind every language, but that language, it's not from him. He's like, could you imagine the angels assigned to your life? They're like, that's other tongues and it ain't God. What are they saying? It's a foreign language. Feeling sorry for yourself is the loneliest party you'll ever attend. The only people that will ever show up are the people that understand your pain and hurt like you. And you'll call them friends for a season, and all they are is enabling you to stay the same. They'll stroke you and lick your wounds, and nobody will ever get healed.
That's right.
They'll listen to your story over and over and cry with you and say, I can't believe they did that, and nobody will ever go free. It'll actually empower you to stay where you are, non-productive. You do not need a reason to be not okay. You need a reason to shine, and I find it through Him. Nobody has to do you right for you to shine. Everybody can be doing you wrong and you can shine. Ask Jesus, He'll tell you that's true. He's hanging on the cross. He's not saying, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm the only one that ever really loved you. I tried my hardest. I healed your sick. I cleansed your lepers and raised your dead. You blind people, and this is what you'll do to me? Every time I talk, you just listen for what you don't agree with. You're so proud. That wasn't Jesus. He could have said that and been totally right. But it wouldn't have been righteous. There's a difference between right and righteous. Right makes people wrong. Righteous makes wrong people right. There's a difference. You don't want to, He doesn't rule His kingdom with a scepter of right. He rules His kingdom with a scepter of righteousness. He makes wrong things right. He sees past your faults and failures and says, you're so much more. You got a greater potential. It's not that He doesn't see what you did wrong. He just sees beyond it. And His blood speaks better things. And He doesn't judge you for where He's been. He judges you for where He's been. And mercy triumphs over judgment. He calls you out of darkness into light. Somehow we've reduced that amazing truth to a prayer to take me to heaven and blessings and get me through. Somewhere along the line, this self-centered twist creeped in and we made it all about Him taking care of us instead of Him making us more like Him. And then the people that seem to be getting taken care of more than others, well, you just got to have faith, brother. Well, you just got to get close to God. Oh, I've been crying and praying and reading. And then we're comparing ourselves among ourselves, and now we got hotshot Christians and low-life Christians. And the last I read, every mountain's down and every valley's up. So you can tell if you're on track by what that thing's producing. If it's separating people, it ain't God. If it's making people better than others, it's not God. You just got to have more faith. And Jesus never ever told anybody you had to have more faith. He just met the situation. When they had faith, He acknowledged it. And when they didn't, He just did it. Sick people, They're sick, man. They're hurting. And they're crying out. And they want help. And somebody prays for them. And the person that prays for them says, well, you just got to get more faith, brother. They ought to look at you and say, well, you said he's in you. How about giving him to me? Jesus never told anybody to go get more faith. You just need to go get more faith. Did he? No. So let's not make that the issue. It's the last thing you tell people that are struggling. You teach them God's love, because faith works through. Are y'all with me?
Yes.
And I don't know what we did this morning, but I just cried out my heart for about a straight hour. My wife is doing great, by the way. My children are doing awesome. They're married, good people, they love God. Isn't that awesome? My kids love God. And they're redeemed. There was a season it didn't look like that. And if you let that season decide you and how you're doing, you're going to get deceived. It's idolatry. It's making that matter more than why you're here. That's why he says, I said it yesterday, that's why he says, unless you love less. And he rips off the most intimate list in our lives. Unless you love less. Your mother, your father, your spouse, your children, your houses, your land, and yes, even your own life, who by no means, no way, ever be my disciple and fulfill what I put you here for. That's intense. Unless you love less, that list, you'll by no means. Oh yeah, you can go to church, you can lead in worship, you can preach from the pulpit. But if you don't love that list less, you'll by no means fulfill why you're here. That's amazing to me. That gets my attention. Because I look and realize many of us are Christians for the well-being of that list. And we watch that list and react to that list, and that dictates our prayer life. And we get reduced to a self-centered gospel that's causing us to survive. It's become so normal to think that way that when you preach it, people have to think deep on it. Jesus isn't being personal. He's not saying it's wrong to love your family. He says, who is my mother? He says, your mother and your brothers are out here calling for you. He said, who is my mother? Who is my... He's not shaming his mother. He's proven a deep spiritual point that makes him free. He says, you who do the will of my Father, you're my mother and my brother. He's not forsaking his family. He's not saying he doesn't care about them. Yeah? Wouldn't you agree that sentiments and empathy and emotion drives us the most in the area of family? Just need to be loved. We just want a certain person in our life to accept us until they say, I'm proud of you. We can't be all that we're... It's idolatry. My dad was an alcoholic growing up. He never said, I love you. He'd always tell me I would fail. Why? Because he was failing. He didn't have nothing to give. If I'm trying to drink out of a dry cup, of course I'm thirsty. The Word of God says you drink out of this river that never runs dry, this well springing up. If you just would ask me for a drink, I'd give you a drink, and just one drink. You will never thirst again. He's talking about being fulfilled in your identity and understanding who you are in Him. Just one drink from Him, and you'll never strive, be insecure, or not fit in again. One drink, you'll never be thirsty. You'll never look to men what only I can give. So you got your daddy, and he's alcoholic. I know countless Christians, well, I never had a daddy growing up. I didn't have a daddy love me. I get it. I'm not being insensitive. I get it. And I'm sorry, and I wish it was different, but it wasn't. But that doesn't dictate the love of God, and it doesn't keep you from receiving His love. You do that by faith. Yeah. The love of the Father is revealed through the Son given, not because you had a loving dad. That would be great if you had a loving dad, but you didn't, baby. I didn't. What does that have anything to do with Christ in me now that He's come? Why do I need my dad to say I love you for me to be okay? I need to know His love so I can see clear and know I'm okay. Because it's idolatry. I'm letting things matter more. All of a sudden the finished work isn't even enough. I have to go through all these hoops and have all these things line up for me to be free. That is a lie. Absolutely. Kids know. He's my cheerleader right there. He said, listen. Yeah, he responded to that. I grew up with an alcoholic dad. I'd drive him home from a bar. My dad was bleeding out of his behind when I was a teenager. cirrhosis of the liver. He drank so much. He drank 5 quarts of beer a day for 25 years. 20. Your body says, I'm done. He was so bad, he'd be in ICU all hooked up.